It is official. I am 40. A few days ago, I turned 40 years old. And it is just amazing to me to be able to say that out of my mouth that I'm 40. Because for those of you who are millennials like me who either recently turned 40, like within the past few months or a year or so, or whatever, you just entered your 40s or you're about to, I felt like 40 was a lot older than it really is. Now I understand 40 ain't that old. 40 is the new 20. Not really. But yeah, I'm 40 now. And I want to just talk a little bit about what that makes me think about my own health and fitness and different kind of goals that I have moving forward. So I will say this, because of the way that I tend to approach health and fitness, not a lot changes for me because all 40 is just a number. It's just a marker to kind of like talk about how many times I've been around the sun, so to speak. Um, but not a lot changes for me because I just kind of have like my continual routine. But it does make me think. It makes me think this. So, what I've learned to understand about health and fitness is that it doesn't really have a lot to do, it doesn't have nearly as much to do with age as it does with habit. Okay. Like, in other words, what is it that I spend my time doing? What is it that I'm doing every day? And, like, typically, a lot of times, at least according to like my own research, it seems like health issues that show up more so have to do with habits that one has had for an extended period of time because the body is a lot more resilient than we think. Again, according to what I've learned, it's a lot more resilient, but a lot of times damage kind of accumulates with time. So that's something that I have learned, and it encourages me and has encouraged me over time to develop habits that I maintain. Okay. Um, Now I want to talk about a couple of things that I'm going to be like really working on, which in most cases I'm already doing. The first thing is um being dialing down with my fasting routine. So fasting is something that I have been doing often, probably for like the past year and a half or so. And I've always kind of dibbled and dabbled in fasting. A lot of times, because through like my church or, maybe my own little health reasons here and there. But fasting is one of those things that I'm really doubling down on. And usually I'm doing like a 24-hour fast, maybe once a week. Even recently I've been touching on 36-hour fast. And now the reason why is because I'm a firm believer that fasting is something that we can do that really helps us, not just physically, but just really all around. Again, fasting I was introduced to, as a spiritual discipline, through church, as time to kind of like back away from worldly stuff and to really focus in on God and developing spiritually. But then, of course, at some point, I learned how beneficial it just so happens to be for the physical body, and I believe that fasting is one of those things that's probably even more beneficial for us than it would physically than it was for people, long ago, because in a society like ours, the nature of the type of foods that we tend to be exposed to and the different kind of environmental things we're exposed to, so much worse. It's so much worse. And so our bodies can use a rest from the things that we're exposed to, as well as just a general rest from eating, because we eat so much more often than than people ate before. And so we have a whole lot more food that, all that kind of stuff. So I believe that fasting is very important. It's a great way to maintain and even improve health and to give our bodies a needed rest from all the inputs, And so fasting is something I'm doubling down with, and I believe fasting will help just to improve general digestive health. I don't have any digestive issues, but just giving my digestive system a rest, helping to reduce inflammation. Um, Another way of helping to kind of keep body fat in check, and also most importantly, helping me to keep my cravings in check, because fasting for me has proven to be a way to help me to discipline my tongue in regard to, you know whenever I'm having too much of a sweet tooth, kind of help me to pull back and help to kind of reset my cravings. Another thing I'm working on is lifting heavy weights. Now, if you've been on my channel as a subscriber for a while, and if you're not, make sure you subscribe now. But sarcopenia is the loss of muscle. It's age-related muscle loss, and it tends to become a thing starting around somewhere in the 30s, and it tends to increase with age. But in particular, this is the case for people who um aren't really doing anything. Now, if you're active and you're stimulating your muscle and all this kind of stuff, just by being active, then you don't really see that type of muscle loss. But especially if you're very intentionally doing stuff like lifting weights and all, you can see muscle increase. Okay, and so lifting heavy weights, is something that I recently got back with in the gym within the past 3 months. So I've been doing deadlifts, I've been doing bench press, I've been doing machine rows. Um, what else have I been? Oh, and then doing like stuff for my biceps and triceps, shrugs, and that's also why I'm maintaining the calisthenics I've been doing for the past couple of decades or so. And so I'm going to continue to lift heavy weights because maintaining and building muscle is incredibly important, especially as you age, you start to get into middle age and even beyond. It's very important to maintain that muscle mass because it helps you to maintain your independence. It helps you to maintain your posture. It helps you to, um, burn fat. It helps you to keep your blood sugar reasonable. And so that's something that I'm going to continue to be doing while I continue to do my calisthenics as well. Another thing I'm doing is I'm going to really, really start to actively go toward specific fitness goals I have for my own self. For example, one goal I have is to run a 400-meter um, um, dash, so to speak, in 55 seconds or less. Now, I ran track when I was in high school, wasn't great, which I contend in part was because my coach didn't allow me to do the things I wanted to do. I got stuck in distance. But that's neither here nor there. I've been out of high school for over 20 years now. So, but I want to do that. I never ran a 400-meter in, that much less than a minute. Well, I never ran it in under a minute, much less 55 seconds. So I want to run it in 55 seconds or less. That's just something I want to do. And so I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna stagger it where I do like maybe 200, set a 200-meter goal, and then 400 meters, because 400 meters is a hard sprint. Um, I want to bench press 185 pounds for at least 10 reps. That's something I'm not too far from now. I couldn't dream of being this strong whenever I was, in high school. I was very weak. I think my first max was maybe 65 pounds or something like that in the bench press. Weak, I know, but I was just weak upper body, very long limbs, kind of thin and stuff like that. And so that just was my reality. But now I am able to lift 185 for a few reps. I think the most I got was 4 or 5. I can't remember. I keep track of it with my notebook. I don't have my fitness notebook with me, my fitness journal, if you will. But I keep track of those things. I'm always real big on journaling fitness. So I can easily refer back to that. But anyhow, I want to bench press 185 for 10 or more reps. I want to achieve a full LSIT. I've been off and on working on that for the past long time. I don't know how long, but it's been a long time. But I want to get back into that and really work on doing the LSIT. I think it's great for ab strength, great for hip flexors, and it's just a cool way to be able to handle your body weight. Um, I also have specific goals for my overall health. I want to get a consistent 8 hours of sleep a night. I've been doing a little better with sleep, but the only thing is just that I don't get up as early as I want to, and especially here during the summer with kids home and stuff like that. It's just my routine is kind of out of whack. It's just I don't really like what my routine is, but I want to get a consistent 8 hours of sleep every night because I'm convinced that sleep is a very, very important but often neglected part of getting, to maximum health. Especially for me, I haven't done well with that for a long, long time, and so that has to stop. Reducing joint pain, and I believe that recovery is something that I really need to focus on. And people in my age group, millennials, and then after millennials, Gen Xers, recovery. Recovery is key. It tends to be a little easier to get injuries. Maybe, I start to see a need to warm up more, maybe in my mid 30s. Um, and so one of those things is like noticing like lingering joint aches and stuff like that. And that's part of the reason I'm fasting, kind of help to facilitate less inflammation and healing, between workouts and stuff like that. So I'm gonna get that down. I'm also gonna kind of document how that works. Achieving the sit and reach. That's the stretch where you sit on the ground with your legs straight out in front of you and you reach to touch your toes. And I still haven't achieved that. All the stretching that I was doing, recording myself, I kind of hit like a plateau of sorts. And I'm having to employ some different methods, to kind of help me to achieve that hamstring flexibility because hamstrings get shortened a lot by doing what I'm doing right now, sitting down. Hamstrings and hip flexors. And I want to be able to get the sit and reach consistently and cleanly. So I believe the way I'm going to do that is continuing my nighttime stretches, which I've done a little bit less of, admittedly, in recent weeks. And then also kind of having post workout stretching. Another thing that I actually really haven't done. I just saved my stretching for the evening, but I'm gonna have to employ that. And then maybe a couple of other things. But yeah, hamstring flexibility. If you can bend and touch, you have that hamstring flexibility, trunk flexibility. I even learned that trunk flexibility in particular can help possibly with blood pressure too. And so if you can bend over like that, kind of fold over to be able to touch your toes, that's a good sign for the flexibility of your trunk. So I want to do that. And last but not least, and I probably have other goals, but I'm just gonna say that for now. I feel a need at this point in my life with all the responsibilities that I have, with the businesses that I run, um, to have times of meditation. There is so much going on in the world right now. Um, with our government, with just technology and just all the inputs that we receive, I often kind of find myself feeling a little overwhelmed. And I believe it's because the world is moving so fast and it's so easy to get caught up in it, which I believe is unhealthy. I believe it's unhealthy. I really feel that for the young people who are coming up in this time, because they grow up in all this busyness and they're all kind of used to it, but they don't have the advantage of knowing what life was like before all of this info and all of this technology. And so my goal is to have, of course, time in the morning of prayer and meditation, where I pray, where I sit and just think, where I do deep breathing, but also in the afternoon, like after lunch, as well as in the evening time, where I make myself pray, deep breathe for at least 5 minutes, and then just meditate, just think, listen. Because that overwhelm, I know it's not good for me. I know it's not. I don't think it's good for any of us. And I don't believe we're designed to have so many inputs without having a time to steal away. And I'm talking about not just whenever you go to sleep, but during the day. And so I have to do that. And I would encourage you, if you got to this point in the video, please make sure that you do that. I really believe that the world will benefit when we have a lot of people who are willing to pray, to just steal away, just to think. Take a, take a few deep breaths and to gain or regain perspective. And I believe that that is a key part of health as well, that we neglect at our own peril. So that's what I'm striving to do. Lord help me. That's what I'm striving to do. Um, as I embrace these 40s, man, as I embrace these 40s. So if you are 40, like you just turned 40, like I did, or you turned 40 within the past, maybe several months or a couple of years, or you're about to turn 40, what are you going to do with your health? Like what are your goals moving forward? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, and have a good day. If there's one thing I've learned about getting fitness results, it's that a big key to losing weight, building muscle, and getting stronger is making sure that you make continuous progress from one workout to the next. This is why I have tracked my workouts for the past 20 years. So I've created a special digital fitness journal that you can use to track your workouts the same way that I do, to ensure that you make the continuous workout progress necessary to get the results you desire. You can record exercises, sets, reps, and even take notes to keep track of those nitty gritty yet important workout details. There's also space to track your big fitness goals, as well as a spot to record your weight and waist circumference so you can really see your results. Get your copy today of my digital fitness journal so you can start moving toward your results right now. Link is in the description.